Alright, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 360 Stacks in this thing, baby, representing TKOG. And today, you guys, I'm showcasing one of the coolest decks I've played in 2021. This is definitely, Konami did a very good job on this structure deck. I'm talking about Cyberdarks. My variant is a 60 card variant, and I am playing Dogmaticas, and I do play a small Shadal engine. For the simple fact that it was just too good to pass up. I'll explain more when I get into the profile. And I've won a lot of games because of my decisions as far as deck building goes. My decisions that I made for this deck won me a lot more games than if I just wanted to play pure because I'm like a Zane Truesdale, you know, hardcore fanboy or something like that. I just did the best that I could to take something that didn't seem as competitive as it's, you know, set out to be and make it more viable because I wanted to be able to clap some cheeks with it. Like, I didn't just want to play a structure deck based deck and just go in like, oh, you know, let me just see what it's capable of, because like I wanted to win. You know, when I play these decks, I don't care what tier the deck is. If I play a deck, I'm playing to win, and I have fun because I only choose decks that are fun. So it's never an issue of, oh, if you're playing to win, you're not gonna have fun. No, I'm having fun because of the deck that I chose to play, because I only play decks that are fun to me, and if it ain't fun, I don't want to play it. That's why sometimes you guys will see that, why haven't he played this deck, or why have I never seen this deck on the channel? Because I don't think it's fun. That's what I go for. And this deck's definitely very, very fun. It's very cool. It's very unique. It has one of the best toolbox that I've ever got to experience or utilize. It has so much utility that it's nearly unrivaled, because your utility extends out to the far reaches of other archetypes, meaning that your cards can touch into other engines without even drawing them, which is a really big deal. So all of the utility that Shadal's has, this deck has it because it can utilize its engine to turn a Shadal engine on and cascade out of control. There's a lot of snowballing. There's a plethora of resources that you can gain off of one or two cards that continue to stack more and more. The pluses just kind of just plus more and more with this deck. It's a very big deal. The keyword definitely is advantage. You can gain a lot, generate a lot. But the other issue that you want to be mindful of is, yes, you can get a lot of advantage, but you still have to do stuff with the cards that you get, and you have to be able to play against your opponent and disrupt them on their turn. Like, sometimes I do think that Cyberdark Invasion with an equipped pass is a good play. But other times, you kind of do sometimes have to risk playing into the hand trap for the Chimera combo, because when you know that the same cards that would get Invasion and an equip and pass could get you a better inboard, or even just a kaiju, a boss monster that's unaffected by dang near everything, is sometimes it's worth it. So I did take this to locals. I did not top, and I really screwed up because I played against Zombie Eldritch, and I had to play with Maximus, and I dumped Elder, and I dumped I think I dumped Elder and Omega, I believe. It was Elder and something. And I popped his Rivalry, because Maximus was already on the field. Like, when he flipped Rivalry and Zombie World, when he flipped the Rivalry in the first place, you know, like, Maximus was already on the field. And so when I activated Maximus to dump Elder to pop, I popped the Rivalry, and where I messed up was targeting Rivalry. I was supposed to target Zombie World because I had Cyberdark Invasion and I had Edge that I recurred off of Claw for follow-up. So because I popped Rivalry, I couldn't just normal Edge. I did, but I brain farted and I forgot. So when I tried to activate it, my opponent reminded me, you cannot equip your Cyberdark Claw because it's a dragon. And right now it's a zombie, so Edge can't equip. And I was like, oh snap, you're right. So I can't even out Zombie World. So now I can't really do much, which is a really big deal. So I misplayed hard and I lost. I threw that game because of just literally mis-sequencing. I had the resources to do it, and then just didn't really think. Like, it literally was a brain fart. Like, if I was in my right mind, I would have known that Edge, you know, has to equip a level 3 dragon. But anyways, yeah, I did fairly well. I mean, I definitely feel this deck has a really good Tri-Brigade matchup specifically. I think it has a great matchup against other control decks as well. It's a lot better against other control decks. Like, if we were in a format where it was like Sky Strikers and Altergeist and Guru, and it was just like all the good control decks were just out thriving, this deck would be able to thrive in that format. This would be one of the most sought after decks, but because we're in a format where decks are setting up boards that are literally like an FTK, you really need to add some extra, you know, oomph to the deck. Like, the engine's good, but it's not that great going second, and it doesn't play through hand traps as much as I want it to. And I know this sounds like all rambling, so if you guys are irritated, you know, you can just fast forward and skip that part. But anyways, if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to my channel. Leave a like if you liked the video, leave a dislike if you didn't. And if you want to support me, consider joining my Patreon or my Discord. But with that said, let's get into the list, because I'm sure you guys only want to see that and don't really want to hear me talking. But anyways, so for my starter cards, but I just really wanted to tell you my experience. Like, I like the deck, I think it's really good, and I did good with it for what it's worth, but I know I could have done better, and when I don't top, I feel like I failed. You know, that's just me. Like, I want to at least top, because obviously I do like packs, because I'll be trying to pull Starlights. I don't know about y'all, but I'll be trying to plus. But yeah, for starters, we're on 3 Prosperity. Your extra deck is not really like an issue with this deck. In fact, there's so much flex that I can play a lot of different cards that I normally wouldn't be able to play. So Prosperity is very, very free in this deck. A lot of times you can Prosperity for 6 and it doesn't really hurt. Next up, I'm on 3 copies of Emergency. These are all just the starters. 3 Cybernetic Horizon. You guys will see. I'm going to tell you why I play 3 of this, because ideally, you don't really need 3, and you don't really want to resolve it more than once. So it's like, it's still my theory on it is like desires. Like, even though you don't want to resolve more than 1 desires, you do want to see the card. Like, you want to open it. Because another thing with this deck is, like, when people hand trap this deck when it's not on Chimera, if you've drawn the extra combo piece that you normally would search throughout that combo sequence, you're effectively playing through that hand trap, because if they impermed your core and you already had the realm, or they asked your Horizon and you already have what it searched, you know, you can play a little bit better through those hand traps and get a decent end board. And sometimes you can full combo and do the exact same thing you meant to do in the first place through the hand trap, depending on where they hit you and what you drew. So it's a big deal to max out these combo pieces, because drawing these will also, when you don't get hand trap, allow you to get extra negates for your Cyber Darkness and allow you to make a lot better of an end board. So it's definitely necessary to play 3. And then we're on 3 copies of Nadir Servant. This is one of the best cards in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And yeah, if I do get some ignorant comments about Dogmatica, please understand that Dogmatica is one of the best engines, and it's also notably one of the best engines because it makes decks that are not as good a lot better. So this can take a rogue deck into like a tier 2 status just because its engine is that good, it's that competitive, and it's a big deal. I mean, it's just worth playing, honestly. And if you don't play it, it's okay, because whenever you have the chance to go into battle phase, your Cyberdark Claw can still dump something from extra deck, meaning you can play without Nadir's and still get that little bit of marginal value that you would get off of one of Nadir's effects. But it's a really big deal, because you do want extra disruptions, you want to be able to play through hand shots better, and you want to be able to go second a lot better too. And on top of that, you do want to be able to access Winda on your first turn without having to rely on Claw in battle phase, because Winda literally, again, just wins games. And this deck's win condition is too vulnerable to disruption, so you want a win condition that you can get through hand traps, right? Like, that's the idea. Like, you want your main combo to be the bait, and then you activate the Nadir. And at that point, they have to have open multiple hand traps, which just gives you a higher chance of winning. So I like the dogs. You know, you don't gotta play it, but you definitely can't really hate on me for playing my cardboard how I want to play it. We have 3 copies of Cyber Dragon Core. So Core is actually phenomenal. Let me finish laying out these starters before I start talking about it. 3 Claw, 3 Cannon. Claw is definitely the best. Claw is actually my favorite Cyberdark monster in the main deck, and then I played 3 Ecclesia. And that's it for the starters. So the engine is pretty big. With this deck's like main focus is pretty big, so that's why there's so many starters that you can play, and these are actually really good to draw in combination because you can play through disrupts a lot better. Ideally, like the Cyberdark portion is a little funny, and I'll explain that right now. It's a little funny because even though you have so many consistency cards, a lot of the times if you want to do anything relevant, you have to resolve multiple of them, and you don't really plus, you know? It's like Necros, right? Like, you have all these cards that search, and you will even use a searcher to search for another searcher at times, and what it accomplishes in this deck is it fuels your grave for future plays, because your graveyard setup is a really big deal. And sometimes I won't go for the Chimera combo on my first turn. I'm a little bit more patient with my explosive plays at times, because I know that if I can bait the hand trap without using Chimera, then I'll just take that other route. So I'll sometimes throw another piece of my engine to force the imperm, and even if that means I threw my extra normal summon on something like an edge, it's okay because it's gonna increase my chances of my combo resolving the next time I attempt it. But yeah, like I was saying, like the Claw, the Cannon, and like the Horizon and the Realm, a lot of the times you'll resolve all of these in the same turn. So it's like, yeah, you can like draw all 4 of these in your hand, but more often than not, that's not necessary because one of these cards can net you access to pretty much all of them. Like ideally, you can Claw into Horizon, Horizon into Core into Realm, and Realm into Cannon. So that means that you don't really have to draw multiple copies of these. The only benefit that I explained to you earlier in the profile is that drawing extra copies, even though ideally, more often than not, if you draw 1, you can see them all, is that if your opponent hand traps 1, you have so many ways to search the same card that you can easily play through that hand trap. So ideally, it's the equivalent of like your Drytron Alpha getting Ash Blossomed and you having a Preparation of Rites in hand to just prep and search what your Alpha meant to search in the first place. That's the simplest way I can explain it. That could never go over anyone's head. And so now we could talk a little bit about Horizon, because this is a really big deal. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck. I have to tell you guys right now, this card is so crazy, right? So what you do with this card is like, you're up against Tri, right? Like they've got Revol, Appaloosa, Ash, couple hand traps. Like you literally go Horizon, pay cost with Chimera and Cyber Dragon Hearse, they Ash. Then you go Chainlink 1 Hearse, Chainlink 2 Chimera. And if they Appaloosa, they Appaloosa, right? It's up to them. If they want to play in the Gamma, that's on them. But by them ashing, they already played into it. So then they're not going to care, right? So even if they negate Chimera with Appaloosa, the big deal about the paying cost with Horizon is that you can trade this card with an Ash and then search Cyber Dragon and then special summon it. And they either are going to Revolt your Cyber Dragon, which means you traded with Ash and Revolt off of Horizon and a discard, or they're going to just let it slide and just hold Revolt, valuing Revolt over Appaloosa. So either way, you're going to eat through their board with just resolving Horizon. I mean, just with paying cost of Horizon. So you can go Mega Fleet for the op, or they're going to Revolt, valuing their 3 monster negates over 1 banish, which more often than not is the smarter play to make, because 3 monster negate, let's face it, especially against a deck like this, is a lot better than just a Revolt. So yeah, you guys, Horizon's crazy. It's really, really good. It's extremely good. Core is incredible. Like, these starters are phenomenal. And drawing multiple of these just make your ceiling a lot higher going first and going second. These cards are a very big deal. Prosperity, ideally, even though you have so many consistency cards, the big deal with Prosperity is, you know, you want to dig pretty deep. Like, even if you open Core, sometimes you just need to search out. Like, if you open Core, like, sometimes I will go Core first and see if they hand trap it, and if they do, then I'll Prosperity for 6 after. Because if I hit cards like Horizon or Realm, you know, I can get a little bit more value, especially if I Horizon into Claw into Realm, and then get my extra normal, and still Chimera combo, you know, that's a really big deal. So, like, Prosperity allows you to see these, but also sometimes it's that specific card that allows you to play through that hand trap, and getting access to your going second card. So even though you play so many consistency cards, I do still think that Prosperity is worth playing. It's a very big deal, because initially when I was like building the deck before I started testing it, I was like, do I really need Prosperity when I have all these cards already? Then I was like, yeah, because now I have like 3 extra copies of whatever vital combo piece I need to see. Like, especially because if Core gets hand trapped, now you have like 6 extra copies of what Core was going to search in the first place. And Core does get hand trapped a lot, because sometimes they don't know that you're playing Cyberdarks. They think you're playing Cyber Dragons, and Core is like the main card you want to hand trap if you are playing Cyber Dragons. So you do have that kind of, you know, misconception that you can give off. So continuing with the rest of the deck, we have 2 Chimera, 1 Edge, 1 Horn. Ideally, I was going to play 3 Edge, because I feel that Edge is just like the best one. You can attack directly and guarantee your Claw and Cannon. But I had to play a different name, because it does come up where you need to search off Realm. And if your Edge is engraved, you can't search another Edge. And you will normally always have Cannon engraved too. You'll have Cannon and Claw and Edge. So you won't be able to really Realm for anything good except Chimera. And I don't like that. So that's why I like playing the second that has a different name, so I can Realm for this. And if I don't have Cannon engraved, you know, I'm in luck. So then I can search. But more often than not, it's there. So you do need a different name. But Edge is definitely the best one. Just attacking directly is just really, really good. I played double Chimera. I tested with 1. And then I realized so many times where I was comboing and I dumped this off Horizon to set my grave up further that I was like, dang, I can't dump this. because like I have to search this, right? So I realized like you have to play 2. You definitely do not ever want to play 3 of this card because it's just not worth it. It's good to open, but it doesn't do anything by itself. You want to play 2 because you want to be able to dump 1 and search 1 at the same time. If you open it, it's Horizon. If you don't, you dump it from your deck and you still search it. So it's a really big deal. Do I go for this combo all the time? No, but when you do, it's very, very good. You can set up your Towers S monster and a couple Omni Negates on top of that. These cards can become starters going second. It is notable if you have your Quips engraved. If you have your cannon or your claw, you can use these to turn your engine on and start cascading and just snowballing advantage. These are a really, really big deal, especially against your grindier control decks and trap decks. Cyber Dragon Edge can put in a lot of work. So continuing on, we have just the rest of the Cyber Dragon package. I do like playing this. I like being able to make Mega Fleet, and I don't have Fortress, and I wish I did because I would have. I played against Ediception with his Drytron deck, and man, so I simplified his turn to where he could only end on Zeus. He Zeused my board, and I had a Cyber Dragon in hand that I searched off of Horizon because I dumped hers in the first place. And if I was playing Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon, I could have summoned Cyber Dragon and either force his Zeus or Contact Fusion, and then all I would have had to do was just play through his drop blade. And then I could set up, because he would have had no follow-up then, because the Zeus being on the board was his follow-up because he could use his ritual spell to reduce his attack and add it back. And then just summon Benton and just, you know, kill me. So, like, I really wish I had Fortress, but it's further solidifying the ceiling and just the potential that the Cyber Dragon cards give you just for playing them. Like, these cards are really, really good. You definitely want to play them. It's a really big deal. So yeah, continuing on, these are cards that I don't want to draw, but they do give my a way higher ceiling, so I like playing them. Maximus is a really, really big deal. Like, by playing Maximus in my deck, what I can do is through my main combo, and I go Horizon, you know, Chimera. They were smart and they held their hand trap for Chimera. Some people are just so tempted to Ash Horizon because of the cost that they'll play into Gamma harder than they should have, but for the smart players that are competent enough to know that this deck's weakness is very obvious, that I can search 4 or 5 times. At the end of the day, if you hand trap my Chimera, I can't do anything. So for those instances, when you have the Maximus, it's a really big deal. And also, it's notable that in those instances, what I've had to do sometimes is, if my core and my Chimera are left on the field because they were smart and they held the hand trap for a Chimera, I link those into the Seeger, and then I special Ecclesia from hand and search this, and I banish the Cyber that I dumped off of Horizon, and then I just go into Titaniclad and Opcolone, and I'll just, you know, discard a random card for the Opcolone, which is a really big deal. So Maximus is very important, as well as the Fleur-de-Lis. Damage and negations, and these cards are cannon targets, but also I can dump this because I do play the Shaddoll engine in my extra deck, so I can dump this. This gives me like better utility and better like disruptions, right? So if I'm playing against Drytrons, this is incredible to dump this off of Punishment. You can actually just end their turn. It's kind of like a Psycho Reader with the Ghost Ogre at the same time, or a spot removal plus, you know, like this, right? Because you normally can hit the ritual spell and 2 names, and you can hit one of the names that they haven't used yet, and that sets them so far behind, it's crazy. So Ariel's nuts, and I sometimes you can just use this to bring your fusions back from the banish zone, and it just gives you cascading advantage. And Golden Lord is a great target to dump off of Cannon, because one of the issues that I ran into dueling with this deck and testing is my spell trap zone's so clogged that sometimes I'm like, I don't even know how I could play a trap version of this deck unless I played Magician Souls, because I literally will have Realm, the Cyberdark trap, and an equip, so that means I can only set 2. So even if I drew like Torrential, IDP, Punishment, Strike, you know, any of those, like I can only set 2. It's not like that bad, but then the problem occurs where you cannot really activate another Cyberdark Realm if you want to be able to set more than 1 every turn. And when you get your second Cyberdark Invasion, which you want to do that, that's a big deal, then you are forced to like clear your equip, set a trap, then activate the trap before you can use Invasion to equip, because like you'll just have clogged zones. So that's why I feel that Golden Lord is a really big deal. You guys definitely want to test with Golden Lord, because he will clear and unclog your spell trap zone and give you pressure and spot removal to out floodgates and playing into boards better. And then for defensive cards, I'm on 3 Nibs. Normally when I do play hand traps, I go high impact. So I was playing these, Nib Gamma. Gamma is one of the best hand traps in this deck because a lot of times when you get hand trapped, you do not control monsters. You have so much Ash and Droll bait. Gamma is just incredibly good, especially going second, especially against Appaloosa. It's incredible. So these droplets actually have some really cool interactions with this deck because if you're a Cyberdark monster that is equipped with a Cyberdark Claw or Cannon is sent for cost with the droplets, if you send that and the equip, your equip will still get its effect because it actually was sent while it was still equipped, which is actually a really cool. It's actually, you guys can look it up. There's a ruling on it and everything. You can droplets, send your edge and your claw or edge and cannon and get that droplets double negation hitting 2 monsters, and you'll still get the effect of your claw or your cannon, which is a really big deal. So droplets is very cool. And then just hitting your spell or trap zone just to clear your zones, it's really good. Like I remember I did win against it was, what was it? It was Marine Cess because I got hand trapped, so I went Mystic Mine, set Cyber Dragon hers. He normal summoned, and I just went droplets on summon, sent my hers for cost, so that he was under mine, and I won the duel because of that. It was really good. So yeah, droplets is insane in this deck. You definitely want to play it. There's too much value and too much crucial interactions you can get off of it. It's really good. And if you guys wanted clarity, when you send the Cyberdark equips, they are actually treated as monsters. So when you're sending them for cost, they are spells on field, but they actually are still recognized in the game state as monsters. I know it seems weird, but Yu-Gi-Oh's weird like that. And then I'm playing 1 copy of Eternal, 1 Power Bond, and 1 Inferno. Inferno's really good, like, especially, let me check timer here. So, like, at my locals, there's a lot of Phantom Knights players. So sometimes when you summon this against them, they can just Fog Blade this. You guys, if you didn't know, you can Fog Blade this, because Fog Blade is not an activated effect. So yeah, this can be Fog Bladed. It's like when you have Inferno up, it just makes it to where they just pretty much can't out it. Because if they summon Borosword, you are going to Cyberdark Invasion and pop that bad boy. And that's what you do. When you set up your kaiju, I mean not your kaiju, when you set up your towers as monster, then your disruptions are predicated to protecting him. Because there's a lot of things that your opponent's going to have to do to try and out him, and there's only a few specific ways to deal with them. Borosword and Access Code are the most generic and quick and easy to access, so a lot of times you're just holding Invasion saying like, if you summon Access Code, I'm going to pop on Risk. If you summon Borosword, I'm going to pop it in Battle Phase, you know, and make you throw your Battle Phase. And like, those are like the only main ways that people out it. Sometimes people might use that Link 5 Goddess card, but you can kind of telegraph that play. It's very obvious when you see that it's coming. You can just hit their link 2, and you know you can only stop them from doing it. So it's a really big deal. And the reason why I play Eternal is because you can use this in your main combo to bring back Cyber Darkness and get that extra Omni Negate and still end on your towers. And sometimes your towers dies and you use Eternal to bring him back. And so that way, if your opponent did have that one way to out your towers, they burn it and now they can't out it for the rest of the duel. Like, it wins games by itself. Like, a lot of the times, I choose the towers over Cyber Darkness. Even if he's at 5600, negate and stuff, I will choose towers because there's not a lot of decks that can out that. And continuing on with the traps, I'm playing these 5. So Invasion is insane. Very similar to Realm. You can use this to manipulate your opponent's grave. Like, it doesn't really come up and I don't use it a lot, even though I know I can, because I'd rather equip my claw, and I'm just being honest. But sometimes you could take cards from your opponent's grave to, especially against Drytron, you want to take those and so that they can't use them for the next turn. And this card also works similarly against Drytrons and decks that use Dragon Monsters. It's a really big deal. And notably, a loop that I have done is I've used Titaniclad, dumping it off of my dog cards, and then I use Invasion to equip it, send it off of Cyber Darkness, in-phase Titaniclad search, and then Invasion equip it, in-phase Titaniclad search. You guys get the gist. You can loop Titaniclad in this deck. So this makes you want to play Dogmatica cards even more, because I felt like this interaction, like after me learning this interaction from testing, I was like, there's no way I'm taking out the Dogmatica cards now. Like, that interaction is just too beefy. It's too good to just consistently summon Ecclesias and just get added value and pressure to your field presence. It's a really big deal. So Invasion is nuts. Like, this trap is one of the best cards in the deck. Like, you really want to play 3, but I'm just playing 2 because I would never ever activate 3. You just always want multiple so that you can have the option to equip and pop at the same time, or just double equip, which is crazy when you have Cyber Darkness up. That's all you're really going to do. And these are just part of my engines. Overflow is insane. Punishment is a follow-up and a disruption, and Schism is everything. It's a follow-up, it's a disruption, it's a floodgate, it wins you the duel. So yeah, you guys, going into the extra deck, we have Seeker, Mega Fleet, Cyberdark in, Cyber Dark, and Cyberdarkness and Cyberdark. So like these, well not these, not this guy, like these right here are the main cards that I summon from my extra deck. These are like the only cards I summon on my turn. What I summon a lot of times on my opponent's turn is the Shaddoll cards. Like I'll even sometimes hold the Construct for a heads up play because I know against certain matchups, summon Construct, dump Aerial is better than summoning Winda. Or summon Octolone, negate the normal summon is way better than Winda against Tri-Brigades because they could just summon double Dragon Lords on their first summon and then just bounce the Winda. So you'd rather summon Octolone to negate their normal or dump Construct, summon the Construct and dump the Aerial. Sometimes it's better to do Octolone because it doesn't play in the Ash, but other times when you know that it means they have to have hard drawn Revolt or they bust, you go Aerial on their turn so that you hit all three of the names that Fractal dump so that now they literally have to like open Karaz and the normal summon that they commit it has to be like able to be turned into Amaraj just for them to be able to keep playing, which is very specific. And then we have Double Elder. I did not want to play Double Elder. I wanted to play Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon, but I couldn't find one. And that's why I lost against Rytrons today, playing against Deception. And this is the rest of the extra deck. Yes, Omega definitely has to be played, even if you're not playing Gamma, because you just want to be able to use this to recycle your main and your extra deck so that you can grind forever. And sometimes you just have to recycle your Octolones or your Windas, your Constructs, so that you can just utilize them again and again and again. So yeah, you guys, that's the extra deck. Definitely missing the Fortress, and if you guys were wondering, again, the majority of the time when I summon this card, it's by tributing Cyberdarkness that's equipped with Cyber In to summon him, you know, going equipped with Chimera, and if I have the Eternal or Core, then I'll just revive this and then re-equip, and I'll set up my Omni Negates while still having this, which means now it's just like you really can't lose because the specific way to out this card will be negated now, which is a really big deal. So yeah, you guys, thank you so much for watching this video. God bless you guys. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. Stay tuned for future content, and I appreciate y'all for your patience. Thank you very much. Peace.